Every product around you exists because of a plan. Welcome to the Industrial Analyst, where we uncover the strategy behind industry.
Hey there, welcome back. Every business, whether it's a tiny startup or a global giant, needs a roadmap for growth. But what does that map even look like? Well, today we're going to break down the key playbooks that leaders use to chart their course, and it all kicks off with one really fundamental question.
It's a fair question, right? If a company's already crushing it, why mess with a good thing? But the truth is, in business, standing still is pretty much the same as moving backward. For most companies, growth isn't just a nice to have, it's essential for survival. It's what gives them the muscle to keep their edge over the competition.
So, how do you even begin to navigate this constant pressure to grow? Well, it all starts with a single core idea: getting a handle on your company's strategic scope. Think of it like the "You Are Here" marker on a mall map. It's the territory you currently occupy, and knowing its borders is the absolute first step. So what exactly is strategic scope? It really just boils down to answering four simple questions. What do we actually do? What do we sell? Where do we sell it? And what other businesses are we involved in? This idea is going to be our guide for the next few minutes. Okay, so once we know where we are on the map, it's time to figure out where we're going. And that whole journey starts by asking two super simple questions. First, should we stick with the stuff we already sell, or should we invent something new? And second, should we sell to the customers we already have, or go out and find new ones? Yeah, at its core, it's really that simple. You've got existing products or new products, and you've got existing markets or new markets. The answers to these two questions, when you put them together, create four totally different paths you can take. And boom, this is that idea in a picture. This is the Ansoff matrix, and it's a classic for a reason. It's such a powerful way to see your options. Each one of these four boxes represents a completely different journey a company can go on, all based on those two simple choices we just talked about. Let's make this real. Imagine we run a company that sells camping gear. For market penetration, we just try to sell more of our current tents to our existing customers, maybe with some new ads. For product development, we create something new for those same customers, like a new line of high-tech hiking boots. Think of how Apple keeps launching new iPhones for its loyal fans. For market development, we could take our existing tents and start selling them in another country. And then there's diversification. That's the big one. Brand new products for brand new markets. Let's zoom in on that last one because it's a big deal. Diversification is definitely the most ambitious path on the map, and usually the riskiest. It means you're really venturing far from your home turf, moving into things you haven't done before. And this quote right here gets at why companies take that risk. It's not just about offense, finding new ways to make money. It's also a defensive move. It's the old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If one market crashes, you've got others to keep you afloat. But not all diversification is created equal. On one hand, you have related diversification. That's when you move into a similar field to create synergy, where 1 + 1 = 3, like a baby food company buying a kids' clothing line. On the other hand, unrelated diversification is just a pure investment. Think about Google's parent company, Alphabet. They take all that search engine money and pour it into totally different things, like self-driving cars. They're not looking for synergy, they're just looking for a good return on their cash. Now, before making a huge leap like that, any smart company is going to run it through three tests. First, the industry attractiveness test. Is this new market actually profitable? Second, the cost of entry test. Can we get in without paying a ridiculous amount? And third, the all-important better off test. Will we actually be stronger together than we were apart? And tools like this one here help leaders answer those questions. It basically plots how strong a business unit is against how attractive its industry is. If you've got a strong business in a great industry, up there in the top left, that's your star player. You invest in that. But a weak business in a dying industry, down in the bottom right, that's a business you probably need to sell off. It makes those tough calls a little more objective. All right, so far we've been talking about changing what a company does. But there's another massive lever for growth, changing where it does business. So let's zoom out our map, way out, and talk about going global. Now, this is a fascinating concept. A profit sanctuary is basically a company's home fortress. It's a market where they're so dominant, so profitable, that they can use all that cash to fund aggressive attacks like price wars in other countries. It gives global companies a huge, huge advantage over rivals who only operate in one country. So, when a company decides to go global, it hits this fundamental tension, this big tug of war. How much do we standardize everything to be super efficient versus how much do we customize for local tastes? This matrix shows the three main ways companies try to solve that puzzle. The first strategy is think global, act global. This is the one-size-fits-all approach. It's all about consistency and efficiency. The perfect example is a luxury brand like Rolex. A Rolex is a Rolex. The product and the brand experience are exactly the same whether you're in New York or Tokyo. Then you have the hybrid approach. Think global, act local. This is where you try to get the best of both worlds. You keep your famous global brand, but you tweak things to fit the local culture. McDonald's is the master of this, right? You see the golden arches everywhere, but in India you can get a McSpicy paneer burger. And finally, there's think local, act local. With this strategy, a global company almost acts like a collection of separate local businesses. A giant like Nestle does this. They sell thousands of local brands that are tailored to specific markets, from Nespresso in Europe to Maggi noodles in Asia. You get maximum local appeal, but you lose out on some of those global efficiencies. Okay, we're on the home stretch. For our final piece of the growth puzzle, we're going to shift our focus one last time. This isn't about new products or new countries. This is about how companies grow by changing the scope of what they do themselves. It's all about integration. And this diagram makes it super clear. You have two main directions. Horizontal integration is when you grow out by just buying one of your competitors. Think of one car maker buying another to get more market share. Then there's vertical integration. That's when you grow up or down your supply chain, like if that same car company bought the firm that makes all their brakes. And we can break that vertical move down even more. A company can integrate backward, which means buying its suppliers to get control over its raw materials, or it can integrate forward by buying its distributors or retailers to get closer to the person who actually buys the product. But, of course, there's a twist. Sometimes the smartest way to grow your bottom line is to actually shrink your scope. And that's called outsourcing. It's the total opposite of integration. It's when a company decides, you know what, we're not the best in the world at this one thing, so let's pay someone who is to do it for us because they can do it better, faster, or cheaper. So, wow, we have covered a lot of ground, from the Ansoff matrix to globalization strategies to integration. These are the maps and the compasses that leaders use every day to navigate the really complex journey of growing a business. But I want to leave you with this one last thought. We've talked about all this stuff in the context of these giant companies, but what if you applied this exact same thinking to yourself, to your own career? Think about it. Are you in market penetration mode, just trying to get better at your current job? Are you doing some product development by learning a new skill? Or maybe you're looking for a new market by applying for jobs in a totally different industry. Or are you going for full diversification and starting a side hustle? It's a powerful way to think about your own growth. Thanks for tuning in.